Hi, everybody. Welcome to the January 18th Tinderbox Meetup. Mr. Bernstein's here, so let's have him introduce us. Go for it, Mark. You're on mute.
Okay. It is January 18th. I'm Mark Bernstein, the Tinderbox designer, and this is Tinderbox Meetup with Michael Becker. Next week, we may on Sunday have a guest, Naupaka Zimmerman, longtime Tinderbox user professor, on his use of Tinderbox. That's still a little bit tentative, but we hope it'll come off. And without further ado, here's Michael Becker.
Hey, everybody. Welcome. What we typically do is we go around the room and new people introduce themselves. We then jump into a theme or talk about work that people are doing within Tinderbox. So let's go around. No one's new, so let's go around the room and see if anybody has any projects. If not, Malcolm and I were exploring something last week, and I was hoping Malcolm could show us that. But if there's anything else, what are people working on? Nothing? All right. Okay, it's an exciting group today. One thing I've been working on is creating the Uber template on how to use media in Tinderbox. So that's going to be coming out through my school shortly. And pieces of it will make it into the forum too. But this actually is a really good one as well. Mr. Bernstein, let me share my screen and let's talk about this because this came up out of one of the students from my class who's learning to write and work within Tinderbox. And he found himself frustrated with map view. So what's your interpretation or thoughts about what he's trying to do and the review on that?
Um, by overall, he is mixing a pile of concerns, some of which are legitimate, some of which are, I wish you had done it the way I had in mind. Some of it, I suspect, is I want to write the program of my dreams,
Right.
which is absolutely fine and commendable, and do it. Uh, though it does tend to be more work than people often think. Uh, but there is a tendency to assume that the way one program that you know handles space is defining for how space ought to be handled, and that's a mistake.
Okay. And I think one of the one of I think one of the issues is this kind of relationship between the different views, and that one of the comments he made was let me think about combining outline and map view, and that was a red flag for me because you don't really combine the views. The views are different, especially when you think about when you're an outline view and you've done a lot of work creating positioning and alignment with notes in a container in map view, and then you unnest those notes in the outline and then try to move them around and renest them, you end up invariably messing with the positions of those notes in map view. So I think there's confusion about the distinction between the uniqueness of each view and the overlapping of those views. And to Mark Anderson's point, I was a bit confused too about this idea of how does one write a hierarchical article in map view? It just didn't really seem um, the approach that I would happen to take, but it's fascinating.
Right, but not all articles have a clear
Hierarchy,
hierarchical
true.
organization. And even those that do may not have the organization that the author had in mind when they set out.
Or more often than not, from whenever I write, my conclusion often becomes my beginning, and my middle becomes my end, and it all
Yeah.
becomes a jumbled mess, right? Yeah, interesting. Okay. So if I'll drop it in the chat or the links in the chat, if anyone can chime in and give their views on that, that would be pretty awesome and contribute to his thinking. Anybody else? What are you working on? Okay. If no one else wants to chime in, then Malcolm, you want to share screen and drive us through your thinking in the project that drove you to wanting to play with this in this way? And by the way, Bruce, this Malcolm's work was inspired from the your book strategy that we came together with on how you kind of wrote your book. So I thought that was interesting.
Yep.
I appreciate that.
Should I go ahead, Michael? This is Malcolm.
Yeah. The floor is yours.
Okay, so first a couple of words. Yeah, Bruce, I was watching that Tinderbox meeting on the 30th of November and sort of sympathizing with you. I sort of pick up Tinderbox every now and again and then drop it. So it's I would say I'm sort of like not quite 101 but 102 level. But I was intrigued by what Michael was suggesting, and I could see it all seemed like a bit of horror about just how complex this was going to be. And I decided over my Christmas, I'd sort of dedicate some time to trying to get to grips with this, because I've also got a huge issue with dealing with structures of books and so on. So I got quite a long way along with it. And when I was chatting to Michael about it, it seemed like something that was worth sharing. So first of all, just bear with me, but I'll see if I can share my screen. Desktop share.
And I've got you on a big screen mirroring, so I'm following along, but if I don't get coffee going, my marriage is in danger.
It's actually a good point. I'm going to stand up and get mine.
Yeah, hopefully we can put this up anyway.
Yeah, we see your screen.
Okay, so that's Pluto, amazing shot, looking back towards the sun, but that's not what we're talking about today. So
yeah, but is it a planet or isn't it?
Uh,
it's not anymore,
I'm happy
right?
calling it a planet. It's an arbitrary one. Let me just see. I'll get rid of that. Let me just get rid of that. Cancel. I'm not trying to close you. I've got various things hidden away here, so I'm looking at little tiny icons, trying to make sure I can get to the right one. Bear with me. Right. So this is my starting point. I'm working on a huge project, which is basically about how you increase prosperity and sustainability over the 21st century. And this is just like a top-end view of the various things you'd need to consider. And I've got literally thousands of notes underneath all of that. Now, obviously, all these topics sort of link up, but if you're doing it manually, it's all a bit arbitrary and it's not very satisfactory. So apart from doing very obvious links, I've really quite left that. So now coming to what Bruce and Michael and the others were chatting about, which was having a very having a way of sort of summarizing text and getting perspectives on it. And I thought, what I'd have a go at doing, I'll just collapse all this down. So the basic thing that Michael and Bruce were talking about was how you actually have some text, so this, and then how you can sort of actually get insights into it. And what I liked about what Michael was talking about was, although it sounds quite complicated, it was quite a simple way of actually looking at doing that. You do some of it quite manually, but you immediately sort of get insights into it. So essentially, and I thought the thing I'd like to experiment with over Christmas and New Year was a series of 4 books called Alexandria Quartet, written by somebody called Lawrence Durrell in the 50s. And the reason why it's quite interesting is there are 4 novels. And they all overlap, and you think when you read the first novel you understand what's going on, but then the second novel comes over the same period and the same characters, but it's written from the perspective of somebody totally different. So it's almost like hypertext before hypertext actually existed. So I thought I'd give that a go and see whether I could get any insights by actually trying to analyze that. And then just to go over the model, which was relatively simple, is you need to let me just go to let me just go back to the text. Right. So, and I should check out sound levels and everything else okay with everybody?
Yep, perfect.
Yep. Okay, so this is like your basic note. And what I've done with Alexandria Quartet is I broke it up into sections of text, and Alexandria Quartet is actually broken up into quite small snippets, which is useful. So I'm just going through here. And you can see the text on the right, and so on. And then I've added some of my own attributes. So I've got themes, which is like big scale issues. I've got specific things here, very narrower, the people who are involved, locations, and so on. And then I'm also keeping track of the word count and also a chapter thing here to make sure all my various bits stay in the right order. So if you look through here, this one here, you can see the text, the C is high again today. And then I've added into it art and creativity, exile and belonging, and so on to the theme. And I've added the various people that are there as well. So, okay, so
By the way, too, Malcolm, as a basis of this too, you might want to take note too that this file is it not this one that actually roots all the way back to like the 64th video we did from a few years ago with the whole linking and the dynamic creation of notes?
Yes. I was going to come on to that because that was actually slightly more complex than what you actually explained to Bruce.
To Bruce,
but
right.
I've also done a version which has got that as well. So the simple version that you explained to Bruce was once we put in these, we've created these new fields and we've started populating it as we go through reading the text.
By the way, Bruce has his hand up, by the way, real quick.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
It looks like you've implemented something that I thought about, but I wasn't sure how to do, and it's under chapter. Your text is a little tiny for me to see, but am I correct? Am I seeing 1.001?
Yep.
Do you mind commenting on that either now or at some other point?
Right. Yeah, I was trying to keep these various bits in the right order, and I'm sure there's an elegant way of doing it, but I did it the blunt way by creating a new field and making it a numeric value. And then I sort by that field by chapter. So that's
so I in my method, and by the way, for everyone, it's so funny. I thought that I wanted to do more writing in Scrivener, and I switched over to Scrivener for about 1 day. And I found that all of a sudden there were so many things that I had been doing in Tinderbox that I couldn't do in Scrivener that I jumped back to Tinderbox. So
yay! And there was much rejoicing.
So what I did there, Malcolm, and I kind of like yours better, is I just made 2 attributes. I had one for my chapter, and I had another one, I think I called it sections, either sections or paragraphs. But yours, I think, is a little bit more elegant, frankly.
Well, all I've done is once you know what's going on, it's really easy just to duplicate all of these and create new attributes and get them to all do the various stuff that you want. And we'll perhaps get onto that. Although I have to admit, I actually prefer having some understanding from listening to it and then going away and having a good look at the file and see what's actually going on. But and I'm sure we can make that available. But anyway, so that's the text. And then you created the resources folder and you start populating. So I've got the themes, specifics. This is a big novel, so there's lots of specific things. There are lots of places. So we've got all of these locations. And what's happened is, as I've read through the text, because this is quite a simple way of doing things, you have to manually create the various locations and people's names and so on, and then Tinderbox does all the rest. But you've got to do the manual bit of actually putting in the various things. But
can you explain that a little bit though, in terms of when you say Tinderbox does the rest and do the manual bit, and how you're using the note creation methodology? I think the whole overview of that, I think, is really critical.
Okay, so just about to get onto that. So let's have a look at theme folder. And remember, I just need to remind you, we've created in Alexandria Quartet, I've created a theme attribute, and I'm populating that with various things, and I have to do that manually first of all.
And you're populating that while you're reading.
While I'm reading,
you're reading, and you're like, here's a theme, here's a person, here's a place.
Yeah, exactly. So I realized as I was going along, I needed various themes there. I actually cheated. I went into ChatGPT first of all, and got it to do a synopsis and of the major themes of that set of novels. So that gave me something to start with. So I then populated this folder with these themes, and then the neat thing is up in this theme folder, it's not magic, but what it's doing is it's in as an edict, it's got this thing of to collect all of the names that you can see in the folder, and it's putting him into the attribute theme. So it means that when you go back to, once you've done that, once you go back to your text, you've now got this. I'm just going to have to move this a bit because I need to have a, I just need to get, I've got everybody's, I just got everybody overlapping with the control aid, right? So here you've got a drop down. That drop down there is coming from the thing you did in here by getting that to populate.
Now, have you implemented the automatic note creation though? If you manually type in a theme, do you have it creating the note like we've done in this file or
in the other file I have, but in this one I was trying to keep it really simple.
Got it.
And then the other bit of magic you've got on, but it's not very complicated, is in the hints in the library, we have 4 functions. And if I go to theme, we've got this function here, which is what Michael's explaining. This is the one that once you've created your various, what would you call them? The various items that are in your themes folder. This is a thing that links, whenever you're in your text, you use that you put in that particular theme. That's the thing that's going to create the links between your list of themes and the actual bits in the text. So if I now go to the sort of what this allows you to do and go to the hypertext, if I click on, at this time when I met Justine, I was almost a happy man. I now get this to open it in a new tab and then click on hyperbolic and just get that out of the way and just make more room. What you've got here, here's a text at the time when I met Justine, and then this is the things that are in the theme folder. So that's a theme, love and desire. And you can see up there, it's just got one theme, love and desire. The people, it's listed there, and they're all listed around here. Alexandria and all the places are the orange fields here. And then you can happily go along and see through the other, you can see the various links that are emerging, and you can, let's find one that's easy to get to. You can, let's go right out here to this note here. We'll focus on that. And hey presto, you've got another view of the thing. So that's it, and that's it in a nutshell. You can start to, and so if I'm thinking that if you're actually writing text, you can start checking whether there are themes that you think should be occurring in your bit of text and you've actually missed it out, or there are links that are emerging. And if you're analyzing a text, then obviously this is a wonderful tool for actually really getting to grips and analyzing one text. And I'll be interested with Tinderbox once I've tried putting in the entire text of all 4 novels about how Tinderbox is coping with that. So that's it in a nutshell. There are various things that jump off from this, which we've also tried doing, but I think I've probably talked enough, at least for the moment.
I've got tons of questions, but let's or observations. Let's have others question or comment first. First of all, very cool. I like how you've pulled together different pieces of all of the meetups, and really started to grok what we've been trying to do every weekend.
Yeah, well, it's really you and Bruce's work. It's just good to see it with something where there's a lot of text and diversity.
Oh, but yes, Malcolm, you're my role model of the day.
Yeah, and again, one of the things, what Malcolm's not showing here, which I think is really critical, is there's a couple, and Malcolm, maybe we can demonstrate on the fly as well to help with people a little bit. So there are a few things that come from this for me. While you're reading the text, I want to emphasize a few points in your narrative. You went out and got the books.
Yeah.
You then you collected that content into the books. You ingested the content into the books. You used various techniques to curate that. You exploded. You used renamed it with the string function to get the note names a little shorter so that you could have the whole body and all that. So there's a lot of like curation collection stuff you did along those lines. Then you sat down to read. And while you're reading, when a new name popped up, you would you would pop it up into the person field,
Yeah.
And if it wasn't already in the drop-down list, you would add it in the person field, and then another Tinderbox file, not this one, would create that new note for you. So there was some automagical stuff happening there.
And I can show that because I've left some which I haven't actually done yet. If I just try and scroll down here, so this is some notes of the text. So here we've got Justine reflecting sadly on the statue of Bernice. So here we go, person. I type in J Justine. Whoops, I clicked the wrong one, so I need to go back, and I actually want Justine Hosani. There we go.
And if you click away from then if you click away from the note and come back, it should link.
Yeah. Well, it will do if I
click away.
Click away and come back to it. Let me just trying to find where the note was now.
It was farther down, wasn't it?
What was it? Anyway, it doesn't.
There you go. Justin.
There we go. That's the one. Yes, and you can see now we've got that link there. This here, Bernice, that's a new character. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste it in. But at the moment, because this is a very simple system, it doesn't know about Bernice as in the people. So if I go down to people.
And again, and when you say simple system, you're manually adding in her now.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
the other Tinderboxes file, in the other Tinderboxes files, we have it automatically creating that Bernice note.
So I just put in Bernice. I'm going to click away from it. I've got it to sort in alphabetical order. And if I click here, you can already see up here, Bernice is already in the list. And if I now go back up to there we go. You can see down here we've got Justine and Bernice as links coming in. Let's just choose suffering and illness. Right, we've probably got enough there now to have a quick look at that in hypertext, hyperview. Hyperbolic rather. There we go. Now Bernice only occurs once. There's a mass of stuff with Justine there, and you're going off. So that's already, you've got your various links.
All righty, Steve Harf has a question for you.
Fire away.
I just want to check my understanding. We have names of attributes and we have the values of the attributes. The names of the attributes, in some cases, turn into connections or relationship names, and the values in that attribute become notes. Is that a correct understanding?
They are. Michael may want to jump in here, but when you put in a person, that is then a note, and you can select that note and see what links to it. I just need to get out of that. So if I go to, if I go down to a person, we go and open that in hyperview. That is the note of Melissa, and that is then all the bits of text that refer to her that I've manually made the connection for.
I'm just trying to make sure I understand a little bit of the mechanism behind it. When you add a value to an attribute, that for a select number of attributes, the name of the attribute is the relationship, and the added value to that attribute becomes a note for selected number of.
You have to create the note. So if you've already put in a note for that person, then it does all this stuff automatically. If you've not put that person in as a specific note in your person's folder, nothing will happen until you actually put in that note.
Malcolm, let me interrupt you, Joe. In this particular implementation, in other implementations, Steve, as we've demonstrated before, we'll have Tinderbox automatically create a note based on the values that are in an attribute.
Well,
He's just not doing it in this case.
Example, when you add a theme
Yep.
a new theme.
Yep.
In some implementation of this, a new note for the name of that theme is added to the Tinderbox file.
Yeah,
And
in the theme folder. You have to put what the new theme into the theme folder, and you've got yeah.
No, I don't think that, Malcolm, I don't think that's what he's asking.
All right.
He's saying in some implementation. So in your other file,
Yeah.
the one that automatically does it for us, when
Yeah.
you add a theme, Tinderbox using the action code I provided will automatically create that theme, that new theme value in the themes folder. So you
You're
don't actually
correct.
have,
Yeah.
and the other file you're using, you don't have to go and manually enter it in
No,
like
no,
you're
no.
doing in this demo.
so when you
Right.
discover a theme, potentially you could just add that to one of the notes with a theme attribute. And in the more automagic one, it's going to create that theme note, and it's going to use the value theme as the relationship between the current note and that
Correct.
added theme.
So,
Correct.
correct. So what it will do, Steve, it will create the note and link that newly created note to the current note that you just added that theme to. If that theme already exists, it will skip the note creation process and just link it. That's the automation we've
Now-
done in previous meetups.
So this is sort of a simple question, but why? Because it seems I get that you can get a nice visualization out of it using the hyperbolic. Is that the main reason? Because it would
No.
seem to be, well, in sort of thinking of economy of data, you already have that relationship there, and you could conceivably use agents and other features within Tinderbox to be able to discover the same information, maybe not as visual.
Correct.
Are you sort of
so
it's
for me,
essentially
Steve,
a
yeah.
parallel universe of attribute and attribute values and relationship and notes, and
So
they
there's more.
essentially should say
Steve,
the same thing.
there's more to it though, Steve. So if you could go to the Justine note,
Yeah. The one
Malcolm.
we were just looking at.
So,
Yeah.
So when I think about this, you're right. So let me pause real quick, Steve. You're absolutely right. If your only intention is to help that note become discoverable when it's associated with Justine, and to your point, you could use agents. You don't need to have linking, right? You can go find me. You could use an agent that says, "Go find me every note that's got Justine in it." Right? You could use an agent for that. You could use hyperbolic view or attribute browser view for that. You could use table view. There's a whole bunch of things you could do. Now, if you want to link to the note, one of the reasons why you might want to link to the note is, well, just you can open up the links pane as you're seeing very quickly and see the different types. Because remember, especially in hypertexting, the type of link you use is important. It has value. So am I linking her as a person? Am I linking her as a protagonist? Am I linking her as an antagonist? You could have that type of view or analysis, and that linking association in the link pane could give you that value too. The other thing for me, and this is where it becomes really important for me, because, and as you all know, when I talk about this, you're right. You could, in one context, by creating this extra note called Justine. No, can you stay there, Malcolm?
Right, sorry.
I want to go. When you're right, by creating that new note called Justine, you could just be creating file bloat. You could just be creating new notes for note's sake and not really having any value for that. My thought on that, though, is what, in addition to reading the book, you also wanted to say potentially write a report that said, give me all the characters in the book. So now you have another outline that you can then report out of here are all the characters. Now you're right. You could do that just by doing a collection on the values and attributes. But more importantly, as Malcolm is pointing out here, when you mouse over that note, you can, and Malcolm, if you don't mind tearing that off for me real quick, if you mouse over that note, that just mouse over, it's along the bottom gray part. Yep, there you go. So he's just now torn off the Justine note. And now I can actually start adding additional information about Justine that I'm learning. So now I'm actually enhancing the attribute value that is Justine to now becoming a note and creating more insight about what I know and aware of Justine. And so that's why you create the note. So there's so
now
much
I
there.
understand the value there. Just to take this line of thinking, I get that you're creating relationships and notes. Can you go from a map view or a hyperbolic view, create a relationship, and does it work backwards and add it to the relationship? So right now we're just thinking of the map and the hyperbolic view as display only, but can we actually, once we're discovering, oh, there is this relationship that I didn't understand, this is actually a theme for this particular note, and make that relationship there, and then it would then work backwards in automation and update the attribute for theme for that particular note.
Well, and it's really not, yeah. So if you click on any of these notes, their displayed attributes will show up, and you can start adding in themes and other values to those values, or you can draw links between the two.
If you draw the links and you say it's now a theme, you connect a person with a theme, but that didn't exist before, but in the map view, you just create the link. Does that then,
Not in this context, no, unless you write the action code to do that.
Right.
But again,
is that
why
part
would
of
you?
the vision of
No, for me,
discoverability? Yeah.
For me, it wouldn't be, because why would I bother drawing the link when I know Tinderbox will automatically draw the link for me? So if I see that relationship, I'll just add the value to the attribute,
But
and
you
then I'll
might
have
be
Tinderbox draw the link for me.
exploring the hyperbolic view, and you want to do it directly there. Sort of, it's text.
But let's pause right here, Steve. So click on it, like click on the person, right? So I see, if I'm looking at Justine,
Yep.
or any of the notes, look at one of the other. So if he had the other attributes, so like if on a person he had, and actually that's an interesting thing. He can go to his person attribute, add the theme to the person prototype.
Yep.
And he, in theory, could type in the theme, select the theme on that person, and then associate that theme with that person.
Okay.
From
Yep.
this view.
Absolutely. So I can do that now. So if I do Justine, like Paul, well, okay,
yeah.
we'll go to outline view, because that's a bit
No, but he wants to do it from hyperbolic. And if you can do me a favor, go to the Justine prototype.
Yeah.
Go to the people prototype.
People prototype. Yeah.
Yeah. Go to your outline view and go to the people prototype.
Okay. Yeah. Right. People prototype.
Or whatever you're calling the characters.
We'll get there. Give me time. Prototypes.
All right. I guess it's person. Now
Yeah,
add
just
theme.
person.
Add theme on the displayed attributes there. Okay. Now go back to the hyperbolic view.
Okay.
Right. So you want to go to one of the views
Justine?
where a lot of people go to one of the views where a lot of people, where all the links are there.
Yeah, give me a moment. I'll go back to outline first of all, so I can. All right, well, I'll actually go to the synopsis of Justine the book. Overview. Okay, lots of people.
Right. So select a person.
Okay.
Randomly.
Yeah.
Right. And so now from here, Steve, he can select from the drop down on the theme on that person, and add that theme to that person. And then if you've applied the action code to the person prototype, it would automatically do the linking for you.
Got it.
Right.
Sorry.
So
right.
That's her particular characteristic.
So that's how you would do that, right? That's the more efficient way of doing it in the context of the way this file has been structured. Does that make sense, Steve? Sorry, I was kind of talking over you. I got excited. I apologize.
I asked the questions just to sort of critically understand where the power is of this particular implementation, and you always carry the possibility of failure in the automation, and then things get out of sync, meaning the link isn't created or the note isn't created when it should have been. So there's a certain fragility to this.
Well, there could be.
On the balance, because you can take those newly created notes and add essentially more attributes to an attribute, or an attribute value. then I could see the power of the automation.
Correct. So for me, that's how I get past the fragility that you're referring to. I've built a muscle memory that linking and all of that automation is driven from values of attributes. And then that kind of negates the fragility concern. So no creation, no linking happens from attribute value population. For me, other people can do it in different ways. If you could build a different file too, that would say, populate attribute values based on the link type or based on the link. You can do that too. But then if you get too many automatic processes going in place, sometimes they overlap and can create conflict with each other. And you just have to know what's going on in your file. If that makes sense.
Can I just chip in here, Michael?
Sorry.
Yeah, of course. I'm sorry. I'm getting really excited and interrupting you guys. I'm being
sold
rude.
on the value of it. I understand now. Through the series of questions, I sort of teased apart where this would be valuable. Thanks.
Yeah.
So,
And again,
yeah.
my son's been after me saying, Dad, stop interrupting. You're being rude. So I apologize, Steve. Okay, go for it,
my
Malcolm.
take on this is that I didn't know whether this hyperbolic view would actually be valuable or not, and I wasn't sure whether doing all the linking was going to be valuable, but I was going to try it and see what happened. I think for me, especially when I'm writing, it's going to show me whether I've actually got the structural elements which I think should be there. I'll be going in reverse, and I'll realize there's something there that's missing, and I've not made the link. So if I'm putting in my own text here, I'll then be doing this linking, so I think that's going to be potentially useful for me. My take on it is I'm not sure that this is giving you a revolution, but it's helping you think systematically and see the data.
Yes. Now, the one question I have, and maybe this is for Mark Bernstein, is, and again, it's not there currently. I know, I get it, but is there a way to I know we have the spread ratio stuff, but like on the right of the screen, a lot of those people are overlapping, and it gets really hard to drill deeper down into the file. I mean, is there a way to navigate this in such a way that we can actually kind of tease it apart a little bit more and really see what's going on? You're on mute, Mark.
Are we talking about the overlapping links in hyperbolic view or the compression in the links pane?
Not the link names necessarily, but all of those people are overlapped, and I can't really all I can see is Amaryl, and I can't see who's behind it.
And it's not easy to select one if I try and
this is more crowded than I expected hyperbolic view to get, actually. It's hard to
we're not judging, by the way.
Yeah, sorry.
We're not judging. Yeah. We're not passing a judgment.
What you can do is play with the settings to make the links longer, which gives it more space. But you're now I'm slightly forgetting what's currently available. Yeah, that will help. And so that spreads things out at the cost of getting fewer things on the screen.
Okay.
And I'm actually a little bit surprised. It probably stops trying to do force-based layout optimization on a document this big.
Yeah.
Smaller documents, it works harder to get the layout right, but I think it's given up here. I have a suspicion I know how to do that better, and we'll try to get a little bit of spare time to try that out.
Cool.
Mark, you're right about there's an algorithm there limiting things. This file here called simple text compositing, this is a cut down version with just the first 8 or so bits of that book. So that's something which can be shared. And if I actually go to hyperbolic view there, you get Let's have a look. So here with Alexandria, which is then linked to all the places, you start getting activity going on and the
Yeah.
notes start floating around.
That's cool.
And that's going to make it easier. Now, I think that's just purely to do with, you're right, the size of the novel and the sheer number. You get into issues like the sheer number of characters, the sheer number of locations. And if I was smart, I might try thinking about how you could actually put your people and locations into subfolders. But I can see that's going to be quite complicated when you're trying to, well, it's more than I can cope with actually making that still work.
Or rather than doing subfolders, going back to Steve Hart's point, maybe because you can render hyperbolic view against agents, I think. Or no, but no, hyperbolic view looks across the piece. So I was wondering, I was starting to think, maybe you could do a subset of eight by agent, but that wouldn't work.
I think you might be able to.
No, hyperbolic looks at the link to relationships across the entire document, not in a subcontainer.
Okay, yeah.
But Mark, we wanted to show this to you because
Yeah.
Malcolm and I were meeting on Thursday, and we thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm wondering, are you familiar with the work of Franco Moretti?
No, if that's
Not
a
at
question
all.
to me.
I think you will like, he's got a dandy, very small book called Trees, Maps, and Graphs. It's a book about using visualizations and analyses to understand Victorian novels. And he's now at one of the universities of California. But he's done fascinating work. There we are. Did fascinating work on things like using geographic information systems to map the world of Jane Austen. And I think this sort of analysis is very much in that tradition.
Well, Mark, I've got something that's interesting. I've got something which may interest you as well. Is one of my interests is the role of novels for young adults and how that influences society when those young adults become taking decisions and the rest of it. So your first example when you go through books, novels for school novels and the rest of it, I was quite interested in extending that to a more complex example, doing these sorts of techniques, but looking at books such as, and they have to be out of copyright so that people can then use it as an example, but it could be, I know, Damien for Germany and Catcher in the Rye is not out of date in the States, but something like that to actually develop your example and actually go another level and show people how to use functions. That's it.
All right, so Malcolm, the other thing I wanted to share with people why we were doing this, and this will become a real-time demo. Why don't you go back to the outline view?
Yep.
And let's play with the, as you and I were talking about on Thursday, maybe go back to your main file.
Yeah.
Let's play with the, show us, take a few minutes, like read a passage and use the blue and red highlighting.
All right. Okay. So, yeah, we'll need to put that in. I didn't put that in.
We'll write it in real time.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
So here we go. So this is right from the very start. The sea is high again today, with a thrilling thrush of wind. In the midst of winter, you can feel the inventions of spring. A sky of hot nude pearl until midday, crickets in sheltered places, and now the wind unpacking the Great Plains, ransacking the Great Plains. Can I stop reading, Michael?
But just go ahead and like highlight some text. Like
okay.
if you're like Nisa, Melissa, Balser in the middle.
Here we go. Yep.
Yeah, and then if you go up to format, it's format, the format menu.
Yep, hold on. Yep.
Style.
Highlighting,
and like make it yellow, blue, red, something like that. And maybe make another piece red.
Yep. Okay, I've got to. We may be stuck with blue unless
I can actually. No, you didn't. No. Select another chunk of text.
All right. Yep.
Okay. So as you're reading text like this, and you can create a format under format.
Yep.
And if you look, there's actually hotkeys. So there's like on
Yep.
yellow, it's Shift Command 1.
Yep.
If you use the keyboard, you can actually make it red. Actually, yeah, yellow. That's right.
Yep.
So if you can create your own hotkeys as well. So do me a
Yep.
favor and add a couple new attributes on this particular note. Just go to the displayed attributes. Let's create one. Let's create two new sets. One is I don't know, just call it blue highlight, and the other one's yellow highlight for lack of creativity.
Oop.
No, one word.
All right. Blue highlight. Yellow highlight.
Yeah, and just make them one word for ease of use.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh, I mean, without space. I mean, you go
Yeah,
fix it.
yeah. I'm understanding. See if I can edit
And for consistency, why don't you capitalize the H?
that. Yeah.
Okay. So this becomes, and so this is a really great, when I was doing I figured this out when I was doing my doctorate. This is a really great qualitative analysis methodology you can do. Oh, you wanted to create them.
Oh,
I don't
right.
think you didn't hit
That was a
create.
bit of an error. Okay, all right. Carry on talking.
No, we'll wait.
Oh, this is one of the irritations I have of getting now. Where do I need to click? I need to click over here.
Click the create. No. You
I've done
didn't do it
again.
again.
Right.
Yeah, you got to create the check the
Right.
create boxes. And then the fastest way is you just go click into the text window, the white space into the text. Okay, and then click the white space in the text window there, and then check the two create boxes.
All right.
There you go. And no, don't go away. Okay, doesn't work.
All right.
Now hit Command 1.
Yep.
Okay, go back to the user attributes, the second one there, and make that a set, not a string.
Yep.
No, yeah, right there.
Yeah. Yep.
And then make the yellow highlight a set too.
Yep.
Okay, and just as a convention for me when I do this, and I'll make a comment, to make things like this easier, I would often say highlight yellow, highlight blue, so that way in the user generated list, my highlights show up in alphabetical order. Right? We don't have to change it now.
No.
But yes, for people listening to this, that's my convention. Like I always start my date. I always start my date attributes with the name date, so that when you select the drop down list of the attributes.
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
Select the drop down list. Right. So right now you have your highlight. Your yellow highlights are on the bottom, and your blue highlights are on the top. If you name them highlight blue, highlight yellow, they'd be right next to each other.
Yep. I get that.
Right. So that's kind of a nice convention. All right. So go ahead and click away. Or let's use a stamp. No, let's use a stamp right now. Actually,
useful. That's been an incredibly useful tip. I've been doing that since you first recommended it, and things that you think you're going to remember, but you forget what the actual term was. It keeps them clustered, and so simple but elegant.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Now hit Command 1. Now this is super fun. Hit Command 1. Go to the stamps. Oh, actually, and you need to display the highlights on this note. You don't have them displayed.
Okay.
Or whatever the note you have selected. So go to the displayed attributes.
All right. Okay. That's
for whatever reason. So type blue. Type yellow. There it is. Got it. Okay. Now click away into the text windows, obviously. All right. Now go to the stamps.
All right. Yeah. We may have to remind me. There we go.
Right there. Okay. Now hit plus on the stamps. Let's create a new stamp. All right. Just call it highlighter. All right. Now say $blue highlight. equals
Yep.
highlights. No, lowercase. Oh no, equals equals blue. No, sorry, equals blue. Equals text. I'm sorry, equals $ text. Capital T.
Okay. Yep.
Funny when you have the fingers. I don't. When I'm just typing it, I don't have to think about it. When I'm talking about it, think about it. Dot highlights. No space. Yeah, there you go. Dot highlights. No, you had it. Lowercase h.
All right.
Right there. Parentheses. Quote.
Hold on.
So put a parenthesis, open parenthesis, quote, blue. No, the quote character, not the word quote.
All right. Yep. Yeah. Is it
Quote,
yeah.
blue, yeah, lowercase blue. The operators and the commands tend to be lowercase.
Yeah.
Close quote. All right, semicolon. And then you can copy that line and hit copy and then paste in a new line.
Blue.
Yep. And say yellow highlights. Change it to yellow and then change the blue to yellow on the other end.
Whoops. Didn't need to do that. Yeah.
And then change that blue to yellow. Okay, and then apply a stamp.
Very good.
Okay, so you'll see, and if you had multiple blues, multiple yellows, Tinderbox will now create a set of those highlighted notes. And now let's do another thing while we're at it too. This will
Where's
be
that
fun.
set living, Michael?
Well, that set's living in the attribute values.
All right. Okay, no, you haven't got anything. Okay, yeah.
Okay, now while we're at it, let's go ahead and do this. So go ahead and create a new line in your stamp.
Yep.
All right, and let's say blue $ blue highlight. And Steve, this will go back to a little bit what we were talking about earlier. $ blue highlight dot each parenthesis X. I put an X in the parenthesis X close parenthesis.
Yep.
Okay, then the curly bracket, left curly bracket. Then hit couple carriage returns and type a right curly bracket and a semicolon. Okay. Now in there, type create lowercase c. Parentheses. And this is where we're going to type the path. So if we hit a quote, / and I think you called your forward resources, but for now, just forward. But don't worry about it. No, let's do / call it excerpts. Call it / excerpts. This can be capitalized if you want, and maybe call it the excerpts folder.
I could even try spelling it correctly.
Yeah, well, I'm not. You know me. I'm never going to give people a hard time on that. Excerpts folder.
Yeah.
Then a quote, and then a comma, and then X, and at the end of the parentheses, put a semicolon. Okay, and then this is kind of fun. Above the word create, go ahead and type the word variable, VAR string.
Yeah.
Colon string.
Right.
No, you got to put a colon in between the var and the string.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, a colon, not a semicolon.
All right, very good.
Okay, and then space and call it V note equals semicolon. And I would tend to make a camel case, so I'd make the N on that context capital. So this visually helps you see that you've got variables. Now, make V note equal to say V note equals create. So in front of the create, put V note equals. So what you're so
Yeah.
you have the create line on the no down.
Yep.
No, go down the next line down. You have it,
All
you
right.
have it already.
Yeah.
But in front of the create, put V note equals.
Yeah.
So what we're doing here is we're saying, hey, Tinderbox, go grab my yellow and my yellow and blue highlights. And actually, well, I'm gonna do a little tweak on this in just a second, which will be fun. And then so grab my yellow and blue highlights, then look at the blue highlights. Oh, because we know it's blue, it's fine. Look at the blue highlights and for each of the blue highlights, I want you to create a new note. I want you to create a variable note. So we've got a path string for the variable note. And so when we create the new note, the create function is going to return to the variable v note the path of the note that we just created. Okay, now one more thing in your stamp before you do this.
Yep.
Create a new line. And now say
Yep.
link to lowercase l, yeah, and the capital T. Link to parentheses. And then in the parenthesis, put v note. And then a semicolon at the end. And so now what you're telling Tinderbox in this context, no, at the end, after the parenthesis.
Very end, yep.
So what you're telling Tinderbox in this code, you're saying, grab the blue highlights, grab the yellow highlights. For each of the blue highlights, create a new note under in an excerpts folder, and then link to that new note we've just created. So go ahead up and apply the stamp to this. Yeah, and just collapse all those so we can see it.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you scroll down to the bottom, that should be so now we have an excerpts folder that's been created, and there is your blue note. Okay, now let's add this. Let's refine the stamp a little bit. Go back up and go back to the initial note that you just collected, or the note where we had the highlights on it.
Yeah.
And again, there's a whole bunch of different things that you could do here, but under the V note in your stamp.
Yep, just moving some bits around. Yep.
Okay.
Under the V note in my stamp.
No, in your stamp.
Yeah.
Under the line under V note.
Yep.
Say $color, capital C. Okay. Parenthesis V note.
Oops.
No.
I just wanted to make
After
a bit of space myself.
Yeah. Parenthesis V note.
Go.
So what you're doing here is you're saying for the note, for the color attribute of the note V note you just created equals. No, after the parenthesis. Equals quote blue quote semicolon. Now, I'm going to change the color blue in this context, but let's say you had another attribute called highlight color. You could populate that highlight color with the word blue, and that you could operate against that. And now apply the stamp again. And scroll down to the bottom. And you'll see that the color the note that we just created was blue. Now go ahead and highlight that whole, go back to your stamp.
Yep. From the
Highlight
stamp.
you highlight everything from the blue highlight dot each down to the bottom. No, just the blue. No. I'm sorry, the dot each line.
Where is the dot each line?
That right there, that one. No, go up right there. The third line down. Highlight all of that. Highlight all of that down to the bottom. Hit copy.
Yep.
Okay. Now go ahead and click at the end, and then hit return, and then paste that in.
Oh, hold on. Do return and paste it in.
Yep. Okay. Now change blue highlight to yellow highlight.
Hold on.
Blue highlight. You make it yellow highlight dot each.
Yeah.
And when you do that, sometimes it overwrites it.
Yeah,
so you just can delete the extra. Okay. And then make color yellow now.
Yep.
Okay. And now go back up to your stamp, the note that had the highlights in it.
Yep.
And do me a favor while you're at it. Why don't you highlight 2 more sections blue and 1 more section blue and 1 more section yellow, just so we can have more
Okay.
than one. Oh, and let's do one more thing in your stamp before we do this.
Okay, hold on.
Okay. Now in your stamp where we say link to
Yep.
in both cases,
Yep.
after the word V note, put a comma and put a quote and type excerpt. So this is how you can after the word V note.
All right.
So
Inside
this
the
is adding this is adding the flag to the operator that and you need to put in it quotes.
Yep. I'll get
And
that.
I would capitalize it, but it's up to you.
Yep. We'll keep you happy.
Yeah, got to keep Becker happy, right? And then
Yeah.
do it on the one above too.
Yeah. Just looking for that.
Okay. And so what this will do is this will add a link type to the link that we just created called excerpt. And then to Steve Hart's point earlier, you could use agents or other affordances in Tinderbox to say, go find me all of the linked excerpts.
Yeah. So I'm just trying.
Yeah, no worries. No, not there. Under the link to.
There's somebody link to V note. There we go.
Yeah. I often forget that people don't have a 49-inch monitor, so I get really and you want to put that in quotes.
Yep.
Okay, now hit apply stamp. Okay, now go back to your excerpts folder. And you'll see that additional notes have been created because we've added the new highlights and it's creating through the set. And if you go click on those notes, you'll actually see in the link pane if the linking worked. Okay, our linking didn't work. I got to see what happened to our linking. Let's go back up and see why our linking didn't work. Let's look at the stamp actually.
Look at the stamp. Yep.
Link to oh no, don't make it linked, make it link. Not linked, not and
Here.
yeah, it should just be link, not linked. No. Link to, and link. Get rid of the ed.
All right.
Yeah, there you go. And then the one above. That should work now. And now go back up and apply the stamp. Let's see if that works. No, you got it on the selected note.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
There you go. And you see, if you look in the outbound link on that pane, our links have happened. And so now this note is outbound linking to those notes. And if you click on any of the excerpts on the bottom, on the left,
Yep.
you'll see now that excerpt is linked to that note. And if you click on that link, it will take you right back to that note where that excerpt came from.
Yep.
And to the point, if you go back, and by the way, if you command apostrophe in this situation, Tinderbox knows where you were before.
All right.
And it will take you right back to the previous note.
Okay.
So if you're kind of doing this linking navigation, so hit command apostrophe.
Which one's the apostrophe?
The one next to the return key.
Okay, let's go.
At least it is on an English keyboard or American keyboard, I should say. Sorry.
Okay, we'll stick to doing it the long way.
Right, but there is a hotkey to be able to go back and forth down the link chain. But scroll back down to the excerpts. Right. I wanted to show you this too, because the other thing that you were saying that when you and I were talking on Thursday, which was kind of cool, you can close that window, just get out of the way.
Right. Yeah.
And then I'll show one more thing before we're done. So click on one of the excerpts.
Okay.
No, one of the excerpts, not the note.
Scroll
to the bottom of the page.
Yeah.
Okay. Now this was what was kind of cool. If you hover over the link and open up the link in the text window, in the link pane, in the link pane on the right.
All right. Yep.
No, scroll down on the bottom of the screen. The links. Hover over the link, the excerpt link.
Yeah. This one.
There you go. Yeah, and open up that window, tear that off. So I think along the bottom of the yeah. So you were talking about too. Wouldn't it be nice if I could have the text floating next
Yeah,
to my
yeah.
screen? So as I'm thinking about the excerpt, I could have actually the excerpt in context of the text, and then be writing in the text field of the
Yeah, yeah,
excerpt
yeah.
my thoughts about that.
Yeah,
So that's another way of kind of doing qualitative analysis in this context.
yeah. Or if
Now
you're
let's do
writing your own text, you can be changing your own text.
correct, Mr. Gale. And then I got one more thing before I forget.
So first of all, I mean, congratulations to both of you. I'm so envious. But what strikes me about this is that as you're writing and you have a piece that you've written and now you need to follow up in some way, you've created through your excerpts, if you just add one or two attributes that you then use under excerpts, you almost have a little bit of a to-do list
You
and a
do.
tracking
Yeah,
system there for
absolutely.
how you manage your excerpts. Am I thinking in a way that sounds like that would work?
So let's do this. Let's do this. Before you do anything, Malcolm, go
Yeah.
back to go to your prototypes.
Yeah.
And that's a really great call, Bruce. So go to your prototypes and click create a new prototype called P excerpt.
And by the way, I don't know if others are doing this. I finally figured out that I needed to use Zoom on my screen. So I've been zooming in on the code and zooming in on this. And now I don't have to squint and keep running over to my big
Yeah.
screen.
How do you do that, Bruce? What do you mean Zoom? So Zoom has a zooming
Well,
feature?
Zoom I bought a new laptop. In this case, it's just pinch and it's on the trackpad. So it's just pinch and fingers apart, fingers together.
Yeah. Like so.
And if it's with a mouse,
Uh,
there's a way to do it also. I think, is it a,
on a Zoom screen? It's not working for me. Interesting. All right.
yeah, no, I'm
Oh,
able
there
to
it
do
is.
it
There it
this
is. There it is.
time.
Yeah,
Oh, you're right. Oh
works in
no,
mine.
you're right. Oh, that's really cool. Good call.
Thanks. And then if you don't have a trackpad, if you're on the desktop, there is a mouse keyboard combination,
Dude.
and it's command and then use the wheel on your mouse. And that,
Wickedly good call, Bruce.
sure.
That's really helpful. By the way, I have a question about this when you're done. I wanted to ask whether you can use these excerpts as annotations as well. So
Yeah, can we come back to that before I forget?
Yeah.
I'm gonna get a little ADHD on me. So you got the P excerpt here. So let's create some new attributes on that note.
Okay. Hold on. Just get this back in position.
And just for lack of say, is capital I lowercase s processed? And make it a Boolean.
Right. Okay, so
Oh, and while we're at it, just go here and say, go ahead and add another one called excerpt color,
right.
maybe capital E,
Okay.
or no, call it highlight color. Sorry. And make that a set.
Now, how do I do that from here? Because I'm usually
So you
doing
click in the text window.
Yeah.
Okay, now go up and then
Yeah.
select from the
Yeah.
drop down. So that's going to be
Yeah.
a Boolean.
Yeah, when I can get it to respond. Oh, I need to type on the word, don't I?
Yeah. Okay, that's going to be the highlight color is a set, and the first one's a Boolean.
All right.
In the second, yeah, on the word, and then make that a set.
Yeah.
Okay, and then while I'm at it, go back to the P text prototype.
Yep.
This will be fun. I
think
like
I
this
just
one. I
put
do this a
text
lot.
actually here.
Yeah, create a new prototype. Or I mean, a new attribute. Sorry, new attribute. Sorry,
Okay,
my
hold on.
bad.
Just tidy up. Yeah.
There you go. Say is. Let's call it capture highlights. Okay, click away. Make that a Boolean. Hit Command 1. Go to the Death Star and add a rule. And in there say $sign is, or $sign is capture highlights. equals the word stamp, lowercase s. Okay, and then parentheses, quote, and what was the name of your stamp?
Oh,
And semicolon. Just put a semicolon in there real quick. Put a semicolon at the end. And what was the name of your stamp? Let's go look. It's on the left. The stamps folder is on the left.
Right. Yeah. Here we go.
All right. Highlighter. We call that highlighter. All right.
Okay.
So go
Yeah.
back to your text prototype.
Yeah.
And put in the word highlighter there with the proper capitalization. Okay. Now go back to go back up to your text. No, go back to your highlighter stamp real quick. I'm going to fix that. I want to fix something in there.
Yeah. Just check that I did spell that right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Now close that window real quick. So in there now, why don't you go ahead and where it says color V note equals blue, right underneath there, why don't you add another line and say dollar highlight color equals blue. This is a little redundant, but it's not bad to have it, and with the quotes.
Yeah.
And then do the same thing for the yellow.
Oops.
Okay. And then hit semicolon, yeah. And then copy that line and put it down there under yellow too. And all you need to do is change the word yellow now. Okay, and then at the end of the line, hit a return, and now say is processed. $ is processed, sorry. Actually, let's change just to show that it works. Say equals true. And then here's an interesting thing. And then hit a semicolon. Now, in this context, I do this all the time. Change the is processed to is need processed. Put a word need in there, capital N. Okay, and now you see it's gone dark. Now hit Command 1.
Yep.
Go back up to your user attributes. Hit user attributes and select the attribute drop-down list. Go to is processed and rename that to need processed. Is need processed. Sorry, we had to keep the is. My convention for Booleans is to use the word is. Now hit return. Yeah. Now go back to your stamp.
Oops, nope, wrong one. There you go. Is that what you wanted? Oh,
Sure. Or it doesn't matter. Either place it works either way. Either place. Got to close either close the inspector or not. All right, and then so you see now, and then highlight that line and put that up in the blue one too. No, the whole line. Yeah. Okay, and then we got to fix one thing or two things. Now, remember, we're in the create function, so you got to tell Tinderbox which note you want to be putting these. So you got to highlight color parenthesis V note close parenthesis. So in all four of those lines where you say highlight color equals blue, is need process equals true.
yeah.
You've got to put the V note after the attribute, so Tinderbox knows which note you want.
Okay. So where do I do that? I'm
just
here
in front of the equal sign.
Okay.
No, other side of the equal sign. In front. Yeah. So you type parenthesis V note. So what that's saying is, for the note V note, make this attribute value this value. And so you want to copy that parenthesis V note in the other three lines that we just created.
Is that correct?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay.
And then just copy that one and the highlight V color above. No, not the whole line, just the V note.
Okay. Oh, I need the brackets.
Yeah.
And
And then put that one and the one above too, the highlight color above. The line just above.
here,
Right. Yeah.
where do I put it?
Right in front of the parentheses. Again, you're
I
say
think-
for
I
the
think what I
attribute
did-
highlight color,
Yeah,
do this for V note. So you got to do it right in front of the parenthesis.
I don't have a parentheses in this line.
Or not equal sign, sorry.
Yeah.
There, hit paste. And then do that same thing for the other two down in yellow.
Okay.
Okay.
Missed one.
And then a line below too. Okay. Now, and this goes back. Now let's go back up to our note and reapply our stamp. Oh, and no, while we're at it, let's add one more thing. Sorry.
Yep.
Say $sign product in each one of those, each cycle. So underneath the underneath the, like one of the space between highlight color and highlight and is need process.
Yep.
Put $sign prototype V note. And the V note. The parentheses you need are the brackets.
All
as
right.
you call them.
Yeah. We'll get.
Equals, quote, and then the name of the excerpt prototype we just created, semicolon at the end, which it was P excerpt, I believe.
Yep.
So again, when you're doing these automations, this is really great because you can start thinking, let's have Tinderbox do all the and put a semicolon at the end.
Yeah. Just checking
So let's have
spelling.
You need to check the spelling of the original prototype.
Yeah. Thank you.
and again, you only have to do that once, and we're putting it in the wrong place.
Hold up. EXE. We'll get that.
Okay. Put a semicolon there and highlight that whole line and delete it. The prototype P note, I'm putting it in the wrong place.
Delete it.
Yeah, copy, delete it. All
Yeah.
right, and you want to put it right underneath the one above. Go under where highlight color equals blue.
I'll get there. Highlight color equals blue. Gosh.
No, just keep going up. Put it
Yeah.
up there. So you've created the note, and you're saying now make the note this prototype. Assign this prototype. So that's where that should go. And you don't need to have it. And again, now that I look at it, I've got the code wrong. B note. Oh, I see what I did wrong. Yeah, no, that's fine. Is process linked to. Yeah, we don't need the is processed in the yellow section, down in the yellow,
Right.
because we're doing that above already. We don't need it there.
Okay.
And Erwin's telling us a P excerpt under blue lacks a C.
Right. Where's that? We're here at the moment. That's where I'm looking. Do I need to go
No,
up?
and that's in yellow.
Right. To in blue. Yeah. I'm here.
Wherever we did P excerpt. Oh, the prototype equals P excerpt. It's missing a C.
No, the prototype itself under prototypes is misspelled. P excerpt is spelled without the C as the prototype.
Yeah, it's also misspelled there too.
Which bit is misspelled?
You missed an E. PEXC. Don't you need a C in there? All right, and then go over to the prototype and spell the prototype properly.
Okay. Okay.
Perfect. Now go up to your note and apply this note. And what this is all going to do is it's automatically going to highlight the notes, link the notes, apply the prototype, fill in the color. And to Bruce's recommendation earlier, go up to the Justine note, the one above, and apply the stamp. It's also going to flag this note as needing to be processed.
Yeah.
And so then later, Bruce, you could be running an agent that could say, I'm sorry, Frederick, we didn't get to your question on annotation. Before you leave, can you ask it once more?
What am I doing?
Oh,
Yeah, I can do that.
just-
Thank you. Thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah, can you ask your annotation question before you leave?
Yes.
Go for it.
Oh, now,
Because you said this has been a great session. Thanks. It made me
Yes.
think you were leaving. So I wanted to get your question to me before you leave.
oh, I'm sorry, I'm not going to leave right away, but
Oh, okay. So let's finish this off then. So go
Yeah.
ahead and hit apply the no. So on this note, if you can go to the displayed attributes, click on the displayed attributes box on the right, because we want to reset the inheritance to this note. So hit reset.
Okay, so where's that?
No, on the displayed attributes box, click on that. Hit the reset button on the left, and that
Yep.
will re-inherit the note.
Okay.
And go back to your prototype real quick.
Yeah.
And we got to fix your prototype once more so we don't get a running loop.
Yeah.
Click on text. Click on the text prototype.
All right. Yeah.
Click Command 1. Go to the rule. And around that, go to the rule.
Yeah, I'm sure
You had it right there. The Death Star on the right.
Yeah.
Okay, and there's the rule. All right. Now in that line above the create a new line above is capture highlights. I forgot to do this. Right. You don't want this condition running constantly all the time. You want to have it. So you want to say if lowercase f. If parenthesis or bracket. Okay. And copy the is capture highlights line from below. Not the whole line, just to the up to the equals. Or past the equals. Right. Copy and delete that. Paste that if in there, hit paste. Equals, add another equal sign. True.
How's that spelled? Is that American through
No,
or
TRU, true. True or false. Right.
yeah.
And then at the end of that line, put an open curly bracket. Okay, and then at the very bottom, put a closed curly bracket with the semicolon, so we close out the loop. Okay, and then the semicolon. No, and then after the stamp line,
Yep.
okay, hit paste again, and then say equals false. So what you're doing is saying, if the is highlights is true, apply the stamp, and then turn the Boolean off. So now go back up to your note, and this will work properly.
Semicolon after false.
Oh yeah, you need a semicolon after false. Thanks, Chuck.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, now go up to the
Note.
and apply and now. So what we've done is we've set up a Boolean operator. So go ahead and close the. We set up a Boolean operator, so you don't have to hit the stamp. You can just check the box underneath at the bottom of your displayed attributes, and that will run, and it's now captured those highlights. So you don't need to manually apply the stamp. You just have to check the box now. And if you go down to the bottom and look at your excerpts.
Yep. And was that checkbox meant to go off again?
Yeah, it was, because if you leave it on, it will constantly be running the highlights.
Yeah.
And so if you go back and look at your excerpts again. You'll see. And so you'll see it highlight color blue is need process. And so I'm going back to what Bruce was talking about. Once you process this highlight, you would just uncheck the is need processed. And so now you can make a distinction between which highlights you've actually reviewed or processed. So let's like add some text in there, like, okay, I'm done. And then uncheck the box. Okay, and now you're done. And if we have a little time, I could actually let's do one more thing if you don't mind.
Michael?
Yeah.
Michael, just two things to point out. One, Mark B back at 10 o'clock indicated he had something quick to show us if we were interested, if there was time. So
Super interested. So give me 30 seconds to do one more thing and then we'll finish off. And then we've got Frederick's question. And then we'll let Mark go. Just to finish this off, go down to your excerpt prototype.
Yep.
Hit Command 1 and create a new attribute called and create a new attribute. So under the Death Star thingy, create new attribute and call it displayed expression cache. Okay, and make it a cache, not catch.
How's that spelled?
C-A-C-E, C-A-C-H-E.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yep.
and hit enter.
although he's
Okay, is
not
that
wrong.
string?
No, just hit enter. Keep it as a string.
Yep.
So did you create it? Okay, now go click on the T box.
Yep.
Okay, and in the display expression, put $ displayed expression cache. Should be on the bottom of the list. Okay, now go to the Death Star on the right and go to your rule. And in the rule, type type if lowercase I parenthesis if is need processed, $ is need processed. Equals true. And then the curly bracket.
2 equal signs.
2 equal sign. Thanks, Chuck. Okay, curly bracket, hit a return. Okay, type display $ display expression cache equals $ name plus quote space bracket quote plus. Oh no, get rid of the quote. Sorry, go back. And get rid of the plus and get rid of the get rid of the plus. Close needs review. And then close bracket, quote, semicolon. Okay, and then go down to the end where the end of the bracket, type the word else. Open bracket, open curly bracket, sorry. And then hit a couple lines and then hit a close curly bracket. And then semicolon. And then in there say $ display expression cache equals semicolon. So what you're doing here is if the Boolean of is need to be reviewed equals true, then you want to change the display expression of the note. Okay. And then uncheck the box on, oh, that's fine. We don't need to do that. No. Delete that, just semicolon. You're resetting it to equals semicolon.
Yep.
No, display expression cache equals semicolon. Your
that is
equals
semicolon.
after
Equals.
display equals semicolon.
Yeah.
Okay. No, equals semicolon.
That was a semicolon.
Yeah, now it's semicolon. There you go. Now go ahead and click away. And go down to your, see, if you look down at the next, those items, the word needs review has now been added to your notes in your excerpts. And there isn't one before then. So you can then visually see in your outline which notes need a review and which notes don't without changing the name. All right, so Mark Bernstein, can you share with us, we've got a couple minutes. Can you share with us what you wanted to share? And then hopefully Frederick will get your annotation question. So that was cool, Malcolm. Thanks for being such a guinea pig. That was fun.
Yeah. You've got a copy of the short version of that, one with just the
And is there a way we can get a copy of the short version of this so we can share it with the community with everything we've just written?
Well, I've got no problem. Now that we've modified the full version, perhaps I should go and actually just knock out most of those chapter bits so it's not dealing with not violating copyright. And then we
Yeah,
can
if you don't
circulate.
mind. And then if you
Yeah.
could email me a version and I'll post it to
Yeah.
the community when we're done.
Oh,
Whatever
that
you're
was
comfortable
so
sharing.
helpful. Malcolm and Michael, thank you so much. This is a master class today.
You're most welcome.
Well,
All right.
I hope, Bruce, that you're encouraged to use it for your work and it actually helped.
I am. I'm frustrated because I have a pile of deadlines this week and I don't want to work on any of it. I just want to work on this.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Bernstein, what are we looking at? It looks very cool, whatever it is. You're on mute. Sorry, Mark.
Yeah, there we go. This is a prototype about 2 weeks old of a new Tinderbox view that I'm working on with Mark Anderson and also with my collaborator Silas Hooper and with a Bournemouth student, Camera Royale. So each building is a Tinderbox note in this view. And we can select them. We can move through the space. Let's go look that way.
Oh,
And
that's
we have
really
notes.
cool.
So these are just notes. And if I go to the
Wow.
outline, here we are. But now this is an idea that was originally developed by a researcher named Andreas Dieberger at Vienna back in the 90s. And he tried to do it in HyperCard. And there just wasn't anything like enough power. The real idea here is to try to get more stuff on the screen. And as you see, like each this is this is in fact our old friend the hints container, and there's the stamps. So we're trying to get more stuff on the screen, and also have a display that has less text on it, but still is about as meaningful as map view. Very early days, and of course, the space isn't perfect for things, but we're having a ball.
That's
So
really cool.
if,
Thank
if
you.
you're interested in this sort of thing, send me email.
Definitely. I will absolutely want to play with it. Okay. And then before we leave, I'm going to show one other thing. And then Frederick, if we can get to your annotation question, since we're showing new stuff, this is a new, I'll call it view in itself well too. I'm developing a new strategy on how to show people how to use all of the different media types in Tinderbox. So, that's a local file, a pasted in image, a locally hosted image, an image out on a server, locally hosted audio, different forms of video, different forms of showing PDFs, different forms of showing the plot, the JS visualization tools. And then I also had SVGs. So you can actually show SVGs in Tinderbox. So I'm creating a whole tutorial around managing media in Tinderbox. And all of this is being driven, every one of these visualizations is being driven from one function file. And it's all being triggered off of, it will determine which way to display it based on what the subtype of the media is. And it will also dynamically configure whether or not you're YouTube or video or Kaltura. It will do the right thing depending on the type of host that your video is being hosted on. So I'll be having this available probably in a week or two. So I'll share that as well. Cool. So that's fun. And Frederick, before you left, what was your question about annotations?
So it's really, I noticed the highlighting example, and that was really great. And I want to be able to highlight a document, and I've been having trouble figuring out how to do it. And it looks like that's remarkably close to doing annotations. All I would need to do in the excerpts folder is add a note under each excerpt with my annotation, I believe.
Correct.
And then I would have annotations with the same mechanism. And then I would have to add a little bit more stamp code to be able to show the annotation somehow. I think
Correct.
it's really cool. So thank you.
Correct. And what you might want to do too on that note is go back to the stamp we created. And if I were doing it, I would also populate not just a link to the note where the annotation, not just a link to the note where the annotation was taken from, but I would also populate a new attribute I would call source ID, and I'd grab the ID of the annotated note. And the reason why I do that is when I'm adding child notes to my excerpt, I would have each child note inherit the source ID of the annotation. So then that way I always know my child note that I'm writing an annotation about. Well, I'll always know what original note inspired me to take that annotation.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. I'm going to work on that. Thank you.
Yeah. Give me a call too. I can, if you get stuck, I can help you out with it. All right. We're about 5 minutes over. Anybody else have any thoughts, last minute comments, suggestions, ideas? Or this is terribly fun today. And Malcolm, thank you so much for being a guinea pig. That was awesome.
Yeah,
Good fun,
one thing which we didn't have time to touch on was actually using AI to actually help with generating some of this. But perhaps we can come back to that in a future session.
Well, you kind of alluded that, where you said, hey,
Yeah.
here's my book, give me my themes. And the other thing
Yeah.
we can do when we come back on that is that's a great demo for next week. If we're not,
Yeah.
don't have our guest speaker, we can do that because ChatGPT and the AIs come back with some pretty consistent formatting that make it really easy to explode those notes. Like Mary Beth and I, for our textbook, we uploaded a 100-page chapter of our textbook into ChatGPT, said, give us 100 true and false multiple choice questions. Also give us the reference to the section of the book to where the rationale of the answer to that question should be, and then give us a 2-sentence rationale for the answer to the correct question. ChatGPT spit out 100 questions in less than 30 seconds, 10 seconds, pulled those into Tinderbox, applied a stamp, and parsed them all out. The whole operation took less than 45 minutes, to get it perfectly publishable ready, and then handed those 100 questions off to our publisher after some review. So that's the kind of stuff you can do with ChatGPT and those kinds of things. So we can demonstrate that. It's pretty
Michael,
cool.
you said something that
sorry.
You just said something, Michael, that I don't want to get lost because I'm doing something similar, but you said after a bit of review, and I'm finding exactly that. In my case, it's Gemini Advanced. It's getting it about 95% right, but that 5% wrong can come back to bite you.
Well, that plus, yeah. Go ahead, finish your sentence off.
But no, that was my point about that is that, I'll say trust but verify twice.
Well, and it's not for me. It wasn't just verify. What for me, because it's a textbook, what I found really cool was ChatGPT wrote some questions it was inferring the question from the text, but the text didn't actually explicitly give an answer to that question. So ChatGPT did a really good job of interpreting what the text was intending to say. And because this is a college level textbook, you have to be a bit more explicit. And I'm like, oh, okay, I got to go back and rewrite the text. So the answer to that question is actually explicitly in the text and not inferred. Otherwise, the students would get confused. So it was really helping me with that as well, which I thought was pretty awesome. All right, everyone, this was a rousingly great session today. Thank you very much. And we'll see you next week.
Great. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.